Welcome to the 7th level of fail.
Brian's Mobile One.
Okay, so not hell, but fail. These brakes failed in a number of different ways, and it all came from not being alert and astute to things the last time they were changed. While they're minor nuances, I'm going to give you 32 years worth of brake experience here. So when you look at this one, you can see it's got a rubber boot on it. I'm going to break it down real simple. This one doesn't have the boot. Without the boot, this rusted solid. I should be able to push on this like a syringe and have it slide back and forth. You couldn't do that with a C-clamp or a press at this point because they're so rusted. Neither one of these will move at all. If this can't move and there's only a piston on one side, guess what? It's going to fail on your pads too. Look at this brake pad. Have you ever seen a wear pattern like this? If you look from the top, it looked like it had a lot of brake pad and no rotor left and just hang over the top. This results in all kinds of squeaking, grinding, undesirable noises. This came not only because the slides or the guides had failed, but the pins that go across. You see these pins? Somebody didn't put a clip in there. There's different ones. There's ones that look like a clip that you'd put in your trailer ball mount or something to go through there. Or there's ones like this. But either way, you've got to have something blocking this pin from going out that way. One of the pins was gone. That's right, gone. Not present, not even there. And then the other one did have a clip still. It was doing all the work. So this wasn't centered, and so that was causing problems. This pin was gone, more problems. The caliper had to be replaced. Hardware all had to be replaced. Brake pads, of course, was the reason we're here. Beyond that, the brake hose is all crusty and gross. These go through heat cycles. These corrode. As these go through heat cycles, they actually dry out. Anything rubber, you've seen a wiper blade go bad, radiator hose go bad, anything that's rubber wears out. So being that this has been exposed for quite some time, that's at risk of failing, and you can see the nature of the rust on this thing's pretty bad. If you look down at the body, you can see that the body's just about shot. You got all kinds of holes in it, and then it just goes downhill from there. Brake system's not doing a whole lot better, obviously. So when I go to do these, there's a couple of things that make this easier. For one, I put this up like this. It's still connected. Everything's still together. I hit this the night before if needed with a wire brush first. And what that does is it gets a lot of the rust off the detail areas. I focus on this area right here at the top, and then I also focus at the point of union where the threads are. If you get it ground down real good with a steel bristle brush, let me show you what that looks like. I pushed so hard I broke the handle, but you just hit it really hard like this, turn the other way, get an angle on it, and I'm just wire brushing the snot out of it. I get the whole line up above, so if I need to slide that nut up, it can do it. Get on the side of it here, go underneath here. But I do it dry first. And the reason why is if you get it wet, things get sticky, it fouls up the brush, makes a mess. But get it dry first. You can see that this looks even better than it did before. It's actually starting to look pretty decent. And then I'll go through and use either automatic transmission fluid or PV blaster or just anything that you've got. Hit it with that, let it soak, and then comes the secret weapon. The secret weapon is line wrenches. So I've got this little set from Napa back in the day before they realized how valuable they were, and nobody was buying them. I bought a set, and I think I paid in the neighborhood of $15, 20 bucks for it. I found the best deal I could, and I left a link in the description below. So this one's metric. They also come in standard. But what they are is, look how thick and fat that is. I mean, it's a line wrench, but it's on steroids. It's like really stout so that it doesn't expand. The next thing I use is a wobble extension. It's kind of like a ball so that you can get around stuff. These are always, for whatever reason, in a tight spot. So once you put this on there, think of it as you're going from up above. You know, if you've been a mechanic for years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm preaching to the choir. But with it soaked, that liquid on it can actually suspend the particles that come off, and instead of sitting down in that joint and binding and making a mess, it'll actually float. It'll have a little bit of friction reduction from the liquid. Crack it free while everything's still connected. Same thing when I'm doing the brake hose on this end. I always have the caliper bolted up, and that way I can just crack that without any issue. And I always use a 6-point because these just get so rusted. Once you crack it free, you can ratchet it to an extent, and then I pull the ratchet out. I like the push button ones because they let go easy without pulling everything apart. You can wiggle it off, reset it. Not the most convenient, but you know what's not convenient is stripping this out and not being able to get it off at all. But then it gets to the point, work it back and forth. When you go to put the brake hose on, or if you're doing exhaust on a motorcycle or whatever, start at the business end first. You know, start at the cylinder head with your exhaust, tighten from there first, and then the mount, and then the expansion pipe if it's a 2-stroke, and then on down the pipe to the muffler or silencer or so on. So I put this on first, put this in here, and then run up here. If you look at this, it's got just like a little tab. It's like a little C-tab stab that holds that thing in there. So it holds by the nut here, and then you put that in there, and it's kind of an arc, you know, bent at an arc like this one is. You see, like that. So it keeps spring tension to hold this in place. So you leave all that in place while you take this apart. Unscrew this guy. I've got a catch pan waiting. If you're in Germany, you got to recycle it. If you're in America, it just gets mixed in with everything. Everybody's like, shh, don't create the hassle and the drama that we do in Europe. Alright, so that comes up like that. Next I grab some pliers, try to get as much real estate on that clip as possible, work it back and forth. When we soaked this with penetrating oil, we also soaked this, so that's good. You just see how I work it side to side. If you were to yank on it, you'd bend it and make a mess. It's just a little sheet metal thing. So you can see that way and that way the spring of it. So we're going to run this on the wire wheel. Looks kind of hurt, doesn't it? Next thing we do is we need to get this off. We don't want to damage this line whatsoever, but this is rusted solid. So we're going to knock it, wiggle it, grab it, pinch it. It's going in the garbage, so we're not going to be too gentle with it. We just drop it out the bottom. And then instead of just sticking the new one in there, we're going to clean house just a little bit. Going to flush it out with some brake cleaner, just make sure that there's no debris or pieces of garbage that are going to be in our caliper from here on out. You'll notice that this is hexagonal. We've already observed underneath off camera that that is also hexagonal. We're going to turn it one way, see if it goes in. If it doesn't go, turn it the other way, and we're in. At this point you just need 2 hands and just fit it together. But before we do that, we're going to put our clip back in. Do you guys have one of these at home? Do you have a wire wheel on it? If you don't, you should. You see how dirty and nasty that is? You gotta be careful because it can flip them out. Case in point, there it is. Man, what a day I'm having. See, look how much better that looks that quickly. You see this other side needs a little love. Let's give it. This way you don't have to be sourcing parts, you can reuse stuff. Saves you so much time and hassle and money. Get this seated back up in there. You just wiggle it, get it as far as you can by hand. That'll hold it. You take a brass hammer, links in the description. Knock that sucker in there, and now you've got a third hand. You got one for your camera, and one holding the line, the third hand, and your other hand can get this started. You always want to make sure when you do these that you do it so carefully, so slowly, by hand, low force. Make sure that you don't cross-thread it. If we just did all that work, got a new hose, and then cross-threaded the new hose, that's like 1 step forward, 2 steps, or 3 steps back. You just don't want to do that. Now I lost my crow's foot wrench up in here. I don't know if you call them a wrench or a socket. Either way, a magnet will save your bacon. Working on cars doesn't always go right. The key is to know what tools to have on hand when things do go wrong. And if you know that, you're that far ahead of the game. While you're on the computer and you're already thinking about it, I've got some links, like I say, in the description where you can just pick up the things that you need so you have them before you need them. Big difference in getting things done. I don't know where my ratchet went. Here it is. Alright, so we'll set that to tighten and just snug it down. It's already being held, and you don't have to switch your ratchet back and forth. Just pull it off and flip it around this way. As soon as you get back around to where you can get on it. The bad thing about the wobble is that you don't have the authority to line it up as good. Get that snugged up. So when your brake hose is in, it's all installed. It's looking like $1,000,000. Look how good that looks. Just inspect, make sure that you're not twisted, rotated over, or any kind of pigtail curl that can cause it to kink. This will kink just like a garden hose in the hold position. Your master cylinder has enough force to get through the kink, but it won't have enough flow to let go. Let go, flow. So now that this part's all done, we still have a drain pan underneath. The next thing to do, get a socket that fits your caliper. I love these calipers. I can't believe Ford put these on an Escort when they did. It's like a Toyota or a Brembo. It doesn't have both sides, but anyway, we just open that bleeder screw, take the cap off the master cylinder, and this will gravity bleed. The weight of the brake fluid is going to go down the lines, fill this up, push all the air out through the bleeder screw, and we'll be all bled. Just tighten it up and go play. If you're impatient, you can pull it all the way out and it'll actually bleed that much faster. I would say case in point, I'm fully expecting this to come out now, but it's not. You might want to go grab a soda and come back. If you wait too long and don't keep the master cylinder topped off, that can be a problem. There she goes. So once it starts to flow like that, go ahead and put this back in. You're going to get it all over your fingers and your socket. But then just back it out again. Just make sure that there's no bubbles, no troubles, just like a rebreather. And you're good. Close it off, tighten it up, pump the brakes, you're good. Now if this little trick doesn't work, then it could be that you've got some obstruction or something's wrong with the line or something like that. You can try having it in the closed position and having an assistant push down on the brake pedal. You say push down, and that keeps the pressure on the system. You open it with the pressure on, it'll squirt everywhere, eye protection again. Close it, and then say let up. As they let up, it depressurizes the system. The master cylinder plunger recycles, and you're ready to go again. So then you say push down, you open it, close it, and you say let up, push down. You can go from let up to push down just right. Those are close together, but the between push down, you've got business here. Push down, you open it, close it, let up. Push down, you can go just right again. Anyway, that should get you where you need to be. And if that doesn't work, you have some other issues with the brake system, feel free to comment below and ask. I should be visiting back on this and answering questions again. When things are all bled, go ahead and tighten up the bleeder screw. Don't snap it off, just snug it up. That's all you got to do. And then of course you got to pump the brakes, because we had a new caliper that was already distended, so we're not making contact. There's not a lot of movement on your brakes per stroke of the brake pedal, especially when you've done 2 sides or 4 sides. So let's watch this compress with a couple of pumps. I've just replaced both sides, so whatever play you see being taken up here is also being taken up on the other side. And that's normal. You do brake pads on both sides of the same axle. Alright, here's the first press of the pedal, and it pretty much goes to the floor. No brakes. Let up. I push the second time, should be getting closer, but still really no brakes, very limited braking. Let up, push again, now I've got some solid brakes. I can tell, I can't see from in here, but I can feel that I've got brakes. If you don't remember to push the brakes after replacing a brake hose, or if you don't bleed it properly or whatever, you put it in drive, and especially if you're going down a hill, you could be in trouble pretty quick. Don't forget to do this part. Pump the brake pedal. So just to summarize, when you go to replace a brake hose or you're thinking about it, if you have little teeny surface cracks, it's probably time to consider doing it. If you find, however, that you've got cracks that are wide open, do replace it. If you drop a caliper and it's being held by the brake hose and it's a hard hit, it's a good idea to replace it. Just like if you have a motorcycle helmet and you drop the helmet could be compromised and wouldn't protect you as well as it might otherwise. So anyway, respect the brake hose, replace it when it's needed.
Bonus footage at the end.
Let's do this.